Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sorry we're getting this to you a little bit last minute, but here is a description of assignment 2. So this is your official assignment. Remember that you're already in groups according to topics. Now you're still working as individuals, but you're sticking with the same project from Memo 1. The purpose, remember last week or a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the difference between using paragraphs and tables and how to write a good comparison. Well, that's what we're going to do for this memo. We're going to write a good comparison. So, here on eCampus, we're going to pull up Memo 2 assignment description. And it's going to say, comparing your project to a similar project. Purpose of the project: compare the project described in Memo 1 to a similar project with comparable site and constraints. The comparison project should be a completed project and should be documented in credible news sources, print or online newspapers, magazines, and/or professional journals, stuff like that. In Memo 1, you described a civil engineering project site and its constraints. Memo 2 shows that you've identified the same kind of project, but that somebody else has done it. The purpose here is manifold. Number 1, you are showing your client that you're thinking about them. Number 2, you are showing your boss that you have found ways to go about doing this so that you don't have to start from scratch. You're not copying other people's work. You are using it as a starting point. Number 3, it also means that you are making a comparison along lines of like cost, size, material, structure, things like that to help your boss and your client understand sort of what direction you think this should go. All right, so let's scroll down to content. Now, for Memo 1, we said write a memo. We showed you what a memo looked like. We said write a memo. For this one, we want to give you some more structure. Memo 2, your first paragraph needs to summarize everything that's most important in Memo 1 in the first paragraph. Your first paragraph needs to be a summary of Memo 1. I would pick the 4 or 5 most important things, which tend to be the most expensive, and summarize them in that paragraph. Remind your boss, remind me what it is that you wrote about in Memo 1. Then your similar project will have to have comparable constraints. So for instance, if you're comparing a bridge to another bridge, if you're building a pedestrian bridge across University Drive, I don't want to compare that to a rope bridge across a gorge in Peru, right? Both may be very effective and perfect for their terrain, but they're not very comparable in terms of constraints, use, design, materials, that sort of thing. So make sure that you find something that compares well. We want your comparison to include a table. So the order you may pick is your own, but you need to, the very first paragraph is a summary of Memo 1, and then you need to start your comparison. You can start that comparison with a table that's sort of a summary of the comparisons, or you can start with sort of paragraph description comparisons. We will have coaching next week to sort of go over that sort of thing. As usual, we don't have any length requirements long enough to completely address the content. Your due date is due, let's see, that says Saturday the 17th. Is that the correct date? I believe it's Saturday. Okay, this says, the date here says Saturday, July 17th. That is incorrect. It is Saturday, July 18th. All right, so that's the assignment description. If you go back here in under major assignments, look at that grading rubric. That's how you're going to be graded. This is what you got back for Memo 1. This is a slightly different one for Memo 2. This is literally what we grade for. If you go through and read this, I think you'll be in good shape. All right, one last thing, people. Y'all are doing well so far, but we want to remind you about the style sheet. The style sheet tells you how things are to be formatted, right? So go through, make sure that you read it. Some people lost 10, 15 more points because they didn't follow the style sheet. It's very simple. It's one page. All right. I think y'all are doing well. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. And we'll do coaching next week. We can answer any questions you may have.